Ladies and gentlemen, today we will be discussing a very important subject matter. This weekend on Twitter, Doug Polk and Kate Hall got into a back and forth related to political and racial issues, and for the... What? What's that, Jimmy? Oh, that one's tomorrow? Oh man, I wanted to go to that one. Actually, on today's video, we're going to be going over a 100, 200, 400, 800, 1600... Wait, when did this hand happen? I don't remember this on Poker After Dark last week. Oh, Poker Night America. Doug Polk. Ah, okay. Perfect. All right, we're going to be going over a hand from Poker Night America, it looks like. 100, 200, 400, 800, 1600, 3200, $6,400 blinds. Yeah. Now, if you've ever wondered what a drunken Doug Polk, who's up about $150,000, looks like when he loses almost $300,000 in the span of 3 hands at accelerated blind levels when they've been playing 100, 200, 400 for the previous, I'm not sure, 7 or 8 hours, then today is your lucky day, because that's exactly what we're going to be taking a look at. Now, Poker Night America has been one of the biggest high-stakes cash games streamed in recent memory until Poker After Dark came back last week, and they've announced more cash games in the very near future. Now, I'm very interested to see if some type of rivalry potentially develops between the two sides. I did see some comments on Twitter this weekend, and they will be going heads up in the King of the Hill tomorrow. King of the Hill with Phil Hellmuth, Doug Polk, Jungle Man, Frank Casella, and then there's going to be a 25K 6-max stream with Will Kassouf and Mike Mattisau, so we'll see what happens with that. All right, let's get into this hand that I already recorded one time, but I forgot to press record, so we're back doing it again. Blinds are 100, 200, 400, 800, 1600, 3200, 3200, 6400. Yeah, so the big blind, 6400. That means that most players effectively are very short stacked, maybe 20, 30, 40 big blinds each. So there's going to be some very big pots and big swings here. And when you've been playing for 7, 8 hours at 100, 200, or 100, 200, 400 blind level, these losses can get really big. And that's unfortunately what happened to our buddy Doug Polk. So hand starts off here. This is the first hand that took place right before it. Doug calls a raise from Frank Casella with Queen 8. Flops top pair, goes ahead, check calls. The turn is the king, and Doug check folds his hand. He loses about $40,000 in this hand. And now up until this point, Doug has been drinking a lot. He's pretty drunk right now. You're going to see in his mannerisms that he has all the drunk person mannerisms. So now whether he would have folded this pre-flop or made a different decision in this hand, I don't think he would have. But this next hand is where I think he did make a pretty big mistake. And now, on one hand, I know Doug wants to have a good time, wants to go there, be social, give action, and have a good time. But when there's a $600 straddle on,
they're so big. They're like, oh, honestly, I honestly, I'm fine losing. It's just like, those hands are so big relative to all the other hands. You know what I'm saying?
Well, when the big blind's $6,400, you would pull the game up out of the mud.
So now Doug talks about when the blinds are this big, the game just plays so big relative to every hand. And like I said, you play hundreds of hands for hours and hours and hours, and then all of a sudden you play 5 to 10 hands over the course of the entire session at these big blinds that basically make or break your session. It can get a little ridiculous. So this hand, it folds to Doug, and he's got one person act behind him. Now, instead of looking down at his hand like I think Doug would normally do, he decides to go ahead and blind call. Now, we might say Doug probably wants to look at his hand. The big blind, button, straddle, whatever we're going to call it, has about 26 big blinds effective. So there's going to be sometimes Doug looks down, he just decides, I'm going to go all in with this hand. There really isn't much else I can do. I think Doug's going to still try to take a pretty GTO approach. Even though the blinds end up being that big, I think if he has a certain hand he feels like is a shove, that's what he's going to do. Now, unfortunately, Doug had been drinking a lot. I just don't think he was as sharp. And I think there's a time to give action, to have a good time, to have fun. There's also a time to be smart and not make a decision that potentially might cost you $160,000. I don't think this hand would have went down any differently. Had he went ahead and looked, he probably would have shoved, and then he would end up getting called anyway. Right. But it is something to note in the future when Doug ends up in a $6,100 straddle game, which could happen.
Yeah, 140. Ooh. 140. You
guys got some
146.8.
I'll tell you what. Without looking, I'm in for the call.
Without looking, you're in for the call. That's gonna.
Anytime a player puts his hands up like this at the table, you know you're in a pretty good game.
Like that'll fly.
With that player.
I can't rip some nonsense in there and lose 140. I'm okay with 70 or 80 or 90.
Some nonsense.
I can't rip in the nonsense and lose 100K.
But 90 was reasonable earlier with the 9 high?
9 high like a boss.
Oh! That's a massive raise.
It's only 30 grand.
All right. Cal, I hope you know
Doug,
I'm really strongly.
limits get raised to about $30,000, about 6 times big blind.
All right.
You haven't
The
even
big
looked.
straddle, the big something. Doug shakes his head. Look at him,
What's it
man.
to go 30?
He's trying to do the GTO calculator in his mind, but he can't properly think.
That's so massive.
I still the big. You did
I'm all in.
correct well, man.
I call.
Oh my god.
What did I tell you? I told you.
Goes all and gets snap called. Doesn't even realize he gets called. The table's laughing, having a good time.
You called, right?
I called.
All right,
You
we're
called?
ready.
Oh,
Ready,
wow.
let's go.
Gonna run at one time. Pot's about $320,000. Flops ace high.
Get you 10.
Now it turns to 7. It gives him the backdoor flush draw. Now if he makes the backdoor flush draw here, that's gonna be pretty freaking epic. Unfortunately, river comes down. The jack of diamonds. Doug loses all of his profit back, and now he's officially down for the session.
Are you still up?
Table's enjoying it.
Are you still up?
Kind of needle him a bit too.
This way, we got one more hand left.
You could have shown
I think Doug handled himself extremely well here.
Doug, now
You did tell him you were going to stack him. Now you have the chance to do this
Yeah,
last
now
hand.
we got one more hand. We can do it again.
No, punch match. Your 6400 game is strong. Hold on.
He makes a pretty good joke there.
Strong. Every time
I won.
Are you net up?
I'm sure if you guys were out there and you lost a ton of money in this spot,
Maybe.
who knows how a lot of us would have reacted.
Nobody's still up?
No, it's not even.
Yeah.
Close.
He wins 80,000 the first time. The second time,
157.9.
Second time you won 64.
right?
What do you
so
mean
he
it's
is
about
right.
even? You're
I don't necessarily think Doug made that poor of a play there. It is 26 big blinds effective. You got King Jack. How light Calderodo's going to be when he raises to 6x there, I'm not sure.
I
But
lost my entire profit in the last
I
hand
guess
there.
you could limp call and then check fold this flop. But
double up.
That's right.
He
I
can
think it's
double
just
you up.
magnified by how big the pot ends up being.
So, just a clip, but
Now this next hand, this is the last hand, and now Doug just lost that big pot, folds around to him, he's got two people back behind him, and he looks down at King 3 offsuit. Now, he might think these players are going to be playing pretty tight. It is the last hand. Maybe they don't want to lose a big pot, especially Colorado, who just won that big pot. But I think maybe this is a spot where you just go ahead, you fold, you end the session. And unfortunately, Doug does decide to make a raise.
If you clarify.
oh, you're on 300K. That's so unique and interesting.
Probably 250, 260.
Look at Doug trying to be
Get to the
serious.
amount you said you wanted to get to.
Can't put his cards in the box.
If he has one more hand to be a good pussy.
Did I say good pussy? What did he say?
Awesome. Well, now it's your turn.
I see that.
Pretty sure he ain't folding. No matter what.
Colorado's feeling pretty good right now. He's up a lot of money.
I'm gonna look at
What'd you make
fold.
it? 20,000?
I think he makes a very tight fold here. I think 2-3 suited. I'm putting money in, especially when I'm the $30 straddle. This is a hand I want to see a flop with. Makes a lot of straight flushes. Makes a lot of hidden 2-pair. Makes a lot of hidden trips as well. But he does make a tight fold. Not a fan of that fold. But
you could
Freeman
do
goes
that,
ahead and
right?
defends his
No,
straddle
I
with Queen
don't
10 offsuit. Fine play.
Well, if he
No,
doesn't,
tell both of you to make it fair.
We're going to see the flop here. Flop comes down ace 10-5, 2 spades. So Freeman's got the middle pair. Doug has two backdoor straight draws and future blockers as well too, which aren't as relevant in 2-card Pot Limit Omaha. But he's going to go ahead and not give up. He's got heart. Makes a continuation bet. Under half pot. Bets about $19,000. And I think Freeman has a pretty easy call here with the middle pair against a drunken maniac. So Freeman calls pretty quickly. Doug's going to need a good turn card to barrel again here. That's not a good card. Gives Freeman 2-pair. Does give him that blocker to the straight and also the future nuts. Nut straight draw. He ends up betting about $40,000. Freeman's gonna think about it for a bit. He's gonna say a prayer, and he's gonna shove a lot of money all in. I mean, I think he's saying a prayer. I guess 2-pair is a very strong hand here.
I'm all in.
Does shove all in. Doug folds very quickly, and he loses another $85,000. My God. Just like that, Doug goes from up about $180,000 to down about $120,000.
Damn, that's really unlucky for me. I was not gonna get buff the river, and then.
In terms of Doug's 2-barrel, it does seem pretty fine. He does block King Jack, he blocks King Queen, he blocks King 10, which I think are hands that are going to be continuing with in Freeman's spot. Sometimes Freeman might fold a weaker ace if he does happen to have that. If he has a flush draw that doesn't have a straight draw as well now too, and no pair, he's probably going to go ahead and fold that. If he happen to have some sort of gut shot straight draw to with 3-4, anything like that, he's probably going to fold now as well too. So it just kind of got unlucky that Freeman happened to have Queen 10. I think if he has 10 Jack, he probably calls, but there's a chance he might fold that too. If he has 10-9, 10-8, 10-7, goes ahead, folds those. Now it's just unlucky that it had to happen in these massively big straddle pots.
We can play another round of 6,400. No, that's right there.
All right, well, game's done,
Thank
right?
you.
Yeah, I think we're done.
I think I lost.
Yeah, sure.
20, 40, 60, 80. Yeah, I easily
Turn my
lost.
mic off.
So there's our video to today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you would have done if you were playing in a game with 8 straddles on. Would you play in it? Would you play tight? Would you play it crazier? Would you gamble? How would you feel if you're in Doug's spot and you lost all that money? I know that I played some of these games, these private games this summer where you play with 8 straddles, and the button has such a massive advantage because they get to act last as well, and there's all that extra dead money out there too, that it's kind of unfair when it's just 1 or 2 times and you're under the gun or you're small blind, because the button is just such an advantageous position to be in, even though they do have to put in a bunch of money pre-flop dead. So if you're ever playing a game like that, try to get it on when you're the button. I guess maybe is that angling? I'm not sure, but I'm serious about this. If you're in the small blind and the game comes up, I'm gonna fight not for it. I mean, I'm not a nit, but at the same time, I don't want to do the one massively straddle pot when I'm in the small blind. It's just such a bad spot to be in. So, guys, make sure, let me know what you think. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you want to see more videos coming up, be back tomorrow with the new video as well. Much love. Thanks for watching. That's it. Peace out.